So this week we're going to cover chapter 4, which is about utility. And so in first year, when you've heard about utility, and kind of historically when we've thought about, economists have thought about utility, they've thought about it as like a measure of someone's happiness. And the idea here is that, consumers or individuals want to maximize their happiness or maximize utility just like firms do. We're just going to take a slightly different look at utility, and we're going to kind of change our thinking about what utility represents. So let's kind of just write that out. Historically, utility was thought of as a measure of happiness. And then what happens is consumers try to maximize it, try to max utility. But this obviously brings up certain issues, right? So questions or concerns would be, well, how do we actually, measure utility? So how do we quantify the utility from different choices? From different choices. How do we compare utility between people? And so instead of thinking about it as kind of this absolute measure, or what we're going to call this maybe cardinal measure, this is kind of we're going to come back to that word in a bit here, we're going to start thinking about utility somewhat differently in this course. So instead of above, so instead of thinking this way, start to think about utility being a way to describe preferences. And these preferences are ways to describe choices. Utility as being constructed from preferences. And remember, preferences describe choices. So, how we're actually thinking about it is people are making decisions about which bundles of goods to buy. And based on that, we're coming up with preferences to describe those choices. Well, now what we're doing is we're kind of going one step further, and we're using this idea of utility as a way to describe preferences, which are a way to describe choices. So a utility function takes these consumption bundles and translates them into numbers. Translates them, so this will be a D. So more preferred bundles have higher numbers. More preferred bundles have higher utility than less preferred bundles. So if we have these two bundles, bundle X and bundle Y, which we've been kind of referring to a lot, and bundle X is strictly preferred to bundle Y here. This is going to be only true, so if only the utility from x1 and x2 is greater than the utility from y1 and y2, if and only if. And so what this u is the actual utility function. So essentially, we're applying some function to the amount of x1 and x2, as well as the amount of y1 and y2. It's the amount of, different amounts of good 1 and good 2 in different bundles. And what this utility function does is it gives greater numbers in more preferred bundles. And this could be greater utility. The bigger the number, the bigger the utility kind of thing. So we're only going to get a utility of bundle X being greater than bundle Y, assuming that bundle X is preferred to bundle Y.